Oh God, work this with this thing on my head. How do I stop it? Okay. Hello.
Wow. It's Suicide and Stuff's birthday, as you can see from our really cool plans for the day. Oh God. Well,
Girl, it's hot in there.
should we do a rating before we start cussing?
I'm gonna fix my hair first.
Oh yeah.
Where is our rating? Here is our rating.
We are rated R for language, terror, and of course some disturbing images.
The unicorn was the disturbing image.
Oh yeah, we should have done the rating before that. Started with the rating. Oh well, here we are on the first birthday of Suicide and Stuff.
Here we are, alone, I think.
Maybe, yeah. Who knows? People are used to being on a Thursday, or they don't care.
Maybe, I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. Something happened to my head.
Something happened.
I'm just gonna look like this now. I don't. What's happening?
I think it's okay. You're fine.
Maybe it's okay to you.
Yeah, I'm not upset. So, our plan for today is to, well, I guess we'll introduce ourselves, and then we will tell the origin story of Suicide and Stuff, which some of you might have already heard, and talk about some of our favorite moments. Obviously, do a very long beef corner, and then talk about some of the places that we are planning to go after this. So, I am Jess, and I work at Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners in Colorado, and I use she and her pronouns, and I am really interested in suicide from the perspective of social justice and lived experience, sort of driving what we think of as prevention right now. So that is kind of what I do. I try and rabble-rouse as much as possible, although Des has been the rabble-rouser lately. So Des, you want to introduce yourself?
Inspired. I'm just fucking inspired, okay?
Good, yeah.
God. I hate that I have to introduce myself on our birthday episode. I feel like people should fucking know who we are by now.
Well, do you want to?
Des. My name is Des, and I yell about things. Also, I run Live Through This, which is a series of portraits and true stories of suicide attempt survivors across the United States. You can go look at their portraits and read their stories at livethroughthis.org, all the words spelled out. I do other stuff too, and I don't want to talk about it.
All right. So, Des, do you want to start off by telling us the origin story of Suicide and Stuff, or at least tell your parts, and I'll interject.
The origin story of Suicide and Stuff is that I don't know why I was having a panic attack, but I was, and I was in the shower, and I was like, I want to have a podcast, but I've never had a podcast. I wanted to have a podcast for 5 years, and I never did because I am a perfectionistic freak show. And I was just like, this is how I'm going to do it. It's going to be a video thing, and it's just happening, and it's going to be messy and whatever. And that's that. And then what's she doing? And then I told Jess about it, and she was like, yes, we're doing that. She took the cake. She can't cut the cake. Why not? Because we haven't done our birthday party yet. She's trying to eat this cake.
Do you want to start with cake right away?
I guess we should start with cake right away. Sure.
So we both got cakes. I ordered my cake this morning.
Where's my lighter? Oh yes, you were gonna order my cake too.
Yeah, I was, but then she ordered her own.
Then I figured that out. It's a cake. What are you doing?
I don't know. I like being the disembodied hand of suicide.
You are the silent third partner. Show the cake. It says happy birthday.
It's sliding.
Oh God!
Mine says suicide and stuff. I'm scared it's gonna fall. I don't know what kind of cake this is because I just ordered the flavor of the day.
This is an ice cream cake.
That's an ice cream cake, so it will
This
melt.
is a Carvel ice cream cake.
Yeah.
Shall we do our candles?
Yeah. We're not gonna sing, right? I don't want to sing.
No, we already did that part.
Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, and blow them out.
Okay, do it.
Okay. One. Wait, I should.
One. 1, 2, 3. Nope. Ah! No. Okay, bye, cake. Make me a slice, yes? Yes? Okay.
Cool.
We did cakes.
That's what we've got as far as cakes. We didn't plan that super, super well. But
look,
we're very excited. So we've done a whole year of this show. Des had a panic attack. I was like, yes, obviously I want to participate in your podcast idea. Let's ignore that you're having a panic attack and talk about this podcast instead. And a couple of days later, we started it, and now this is our 25th episode. And we've had some really awesome guests and really fun moments in the process. That's
true.
I wanted to talk about what are some of people's favorite moments. We can read some of yours if you want to post them. And then Des and I have kind of a list of some of our favorite moments as well that we've had so far. Des,
we had a meeting about it.
You what? Yeah, we had a meeting about it this morning, which is out of character for us to have.
It really is. Planning is not
really our thing.
I mean, we try, but then we're not very good at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I like that in our notes it says Des is crazy and has to be perfect.
That's what yeah.
Is that what I said?
Yeah. So one of my favorite moments ever on Suicide and Stuff is when I decided to raffle a vial of my tears. It's not just that I decided to do that. So the reason I decided to do this is because I cry every day, sometimes a lot, usually a lot, about a lot of different things. And John's opening some champagne for me, which is really exciting. But I raffled off this vial, and then woo, champagne. And I sent it to the winner, which was John Gunn. And I assumed that it made it there, but I just never heard anything back. And I was like, dang, John didn't really like my vial of tears. And then months later, I get this returned package that is completely busted. I open it up and there's just glass shards and my list of all the things I cried about. The water is all gone. And we talked about it on the show, and John was like, oh, I just figured you were busy and didn't want to bother you. But it had been months since I was supposed to send those tears. Anyway, so that was one of my favorite moments.
It was pretty good.
It was pretty good. Jess, do you have any favorite moments?
I mean, my favorite moment, I think, is pre the podcast. It's getting Elise to make this ridiculous art.
Oh yeah.
Being like, I'm gonna call it Suicide and Stuff, and I want a unicorn involved, and
candy hearts. We said we wanted the candy hearts.
Some candy hearts with ridiculous captions. There's one that says you're crazy, you're nuts. You can see on the screen. Sad, so sad.
Pills are good.
Mm-hmm. The pills, the spoons, the paper planes, because frequent flyers.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, but I want it to be pink, teal, and purple. And she was like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll do that. So that was fun for me.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is like we had no idea what we were going to do when we started. We were just like, we're going to get on and rant, and we did that some. I mean, we did that some through the whole thing, but I think what's been really cool is that we just started inviting first like people that we know that we could convince to come on our podcast, and then we moved on to inviting like people who are either people who like inspire us in the field or who make us think about things differently, and then people outside of the like the general field who think about suicide but maybe aren't in the like suicidology or suicide prevention space. And we have had some like really fucking cool guests. We were like looking back through the guests today, and I was like, should we read all of the guests out? And we were like, no, that's weird. But then when we started talking about who was cool, it was like everybody. So, so we wanted to go through like some of the like highlight moments of that too. Like I was super, super excited when we got to talk about like tarot and magic and visitation, and spiritual or supernatural kinds of experiences. I think that's something that really doesn't get talked about very much in the field. What were some of your favorites?
I mean, I love to talk about suicide in the media. So talking about suicide in the movies with Chris and like all of the things we've done in terms of like messaging and watching things to try and see, you know, like how we could consult with people. And then I think we just gave up on that. We had a phone call with oh my God, I can never remember the man's name. The chicken man from the show with
The Chicken Man?
What the fuck is the name of the show?
I have no idea.
The Chicken Brothers.
Chicken Brothers.
Breaking Bad?
Los Hermanos.
Oh yeah, John got it. It's Breaking Bad. Our silent partner is not silent today.
Yes. So he was in, or maybe he directed this movie that was about a game show where people got on and killed themselves for some goal. I think it was called The Show. And they let us see, they let us see it in advance. And then we had a call with the Chicken Brothers man, whose name I still don't know.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito.
John yelled it too.
This is why we're married.
Yeah, it's good.
And, you know, it was just like, well, that movie is just, it's a lot. I don't know. People kill themselves 14 different ways. Like what? Thanks for letting us see it. I like being able to see things in advance.
Yeah, that's when I revealed to the world the amount of times I've watched Friends just to count the suicide episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, all of my like weirdest habits have certainly come out on the show.
Not all of them.
No, not all of them, but a lot of them. And we're getting there. We have time still.
And then Beef Corner was born.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Beef Corner. Beef Corner was born right away. Really, suicide and stuff is really mostly Beef Corner, but we set it up so that other people can come on and like kind of introduce us to some stuff first, and then it's just all beefs from there, and we try and incite more beefs as we go. When Kalechi was on and talking about suicide and whiteness, stuff. Yeah, suicide being so white, and just some of the ways that people of color are marginalized, both in prevention and in sort of the movement and in like conceptions of what it means to like recover or be well or whatever you want to call that. You know, I don't like any of those terms. I was also super stoked when we got your fat friends to come on. Because I basically anyone that I fangirl about on the internet, I'm slowly stalking to try and get on suicide and stuff because it gives me an excuse to like internet aggress at them and be like, I love you so much. So that's been part of the journey too.
We had Joelle on a couple of times to talk about autism and suicide.
That's one of the episodes that people have like talked with me about the most, about like really learning a lot of super new information too, and feeling like they gained a ton of understanding. So I've heard a ton about that, both of those episodes after they aired.
That's awesome. Also when Keo came on.
Oh yeah, from Trans Lifeline.
Annie Snow.
Yep.
We had all kinds of great people.
Yeah. We've had awesome guests, and we'll continue to, and we'll talk a little bit about the kinds of folks who will come on in the coming year a little bit later.
Joelle has arrived,
but
inciting the beef riot.
That's a great transition, because I think like we should probably spend most of our time doing what we do best, which is bringing the beef.
The beef. It's time.
It's time. I think so. I think we should spend a solid 20 minutes on beef.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Right. There we go.
Oh, it's time for beef. So when I first showed Doja Cat to Des, I was on it. It's one of the times I lived on her couch for a week, which is some of my favorite times. We always pretend like we're going to do stuff and maybe make it out of the house like once. But we order in a lot of food. I show her those things, and then we do what Fel calls making out about suicide until 4 or 5 in the morning regularly. So, well, let's start with the original Beef Corner Beef, which is Suicide Prevention Month is so stupid.
Jesus fucking Christ.
What you got to say about it, Des?
I hate it. I'm tired of it. Remember when I was a sweet, naive, little wanting to change the world motherfucker?
Yeah.
And I was like, let's do it all. And now I'm like, I'm so tired of it. Why is it all the same shit over and over every year, regurgitating everything for 30 days, and then we're all exhausted and pissed off?
Yeah.
I just started out pissed off this year.
Same. Yeah, I started
that part
pissed in the way where I just like disengaged, because it's like there's I just feel like the messaging has never changed either. So it's like so indicative of all of the things that are wrong with suicide prevention, is that like we are like still relying on old like data that's like not even very good data to sort of facilitate whatever we decide is awareness or deserves the most awareness. And typically our awareness campaigns are focused on things like, hey, you suicidal person, like you should ask for help, duh. Or focused on like, hey, you never know, like any of your friends could be suicidal. And if you watch for the signs, then you can like surveil them enough to do what? Like call 911, get the cops involved. Like what's the next step? So, so much of what we do is this like drive to maybe crisis services. And even if that's the case, like let's say we want people to access crisis services. I think that's great. Like I work in crisis work. I think it's important and people should use the service if it works for them. But like we already underfund crisis services. So then we spend this whole month with the hotlines being like, hey, call these hotlines. We don't actually fund them. They won't be staffed well enough. You might have to wait a while. Like you might have to wait 20 minutes or something to get connected to someone, which isn't a terribly long amount of time, but is a pretty fucking long time when you're in crisis. And then the rest of the system is still really fucking broken, like, by the way. So our only solution for you is like, try and go to therapy, okay? So we like base this whole thing about call the lifeline. Everyone call the lifeline. Please don't everyone call the lifeline, because I have people who are trying to answer that for people who really need the lifeline. I mean, you can call it if you need it, but if you're just fucking around, no. You can call my extension instead. But like we spend all this time like driving people to services that either don't exist or are not really prepared for them. And it's just, is such a waste of resources, and everyone spends all of their money on this month, like everything driving toward Suicide Prevention Month, which, like, from what I know, doesn't like prevent any more suicides than any other month, or like make people more aware of suicide, really. Because like, I feel like everyone that I know is aware of suicide. Like, I never encountered someone that's like, what? People kill themselves? I've never heard of that. Like, that's not a thing. So like, I guess we might be raising awareness about prevention, but then what does that even mean? Like, we don't even know what that means. And of course, all these services have this endpoint where they can end up with the police.
Right. Right. Hey, on the topic of September and awareness, I don't know if you saw on Twitter.
Oh, no.
September is Yoga Awareness Month.
Oh, another one of my least favorite things.
Fucking great. Self-care, suicidal people, just do some yoga and you're going to be fine.
Call a crisis line, do some yoga, you'll be better. No one has to worry about you. You can stop.
Have a snack.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
Why are you eating your cake?
I've had 2 bites of my cake.
Just had 2 bites of your cake. Okay.
There's also this like champagne, so it's hard to choose.
Okay, but my cake is melting, so I have to eat it on camera, and I need you to also be eating on camera.
I'm doing it.
Look, I just feel like I'm sick of hearing about Be the One too. Oh wait, now this year we have Be There. I don't really know what the difference is.
Oh, it's like the same thing. Wait, people want to know what flavor our cakes are. So
mine is
go.
Well, yeah, what is yours? It's the surprise.
The flavor of the day, I think it's like a dulce de leche cake. It's pretty good inside.
Terrible.
You're wrong.
Mine is your standard. That was sarcasm. Mine is your standard chocolate and vanilla Carvel cake. The most important part is the crunchies.
Yeah. Carvel cakes are great.
They're my favorite.
Chunk is very jealous, by the way, of these cakes.
You better give him a piece.
I don't know if he can handle it.
You can't even give him a bite?
Oh, no, I'll give him a bite.
All right.
I'm saying I don't know if he can handle it. Who knows what will happen? He's never had cake at my house before.
Well, it is the perfect time to give Chunks some cake.
Chunk's getting cake. Here's the Chunk.
Yes. You should have put him on camera.
Oh, he liked it. Chunk has 2 tiny teeth in the front on the top and 2 on the bottom. They're really stupid. He just bit me with them, but it doesn't hurt. It's just cute and funny. Anyway, dogs.
So, Suicide Prevention Month is frustrating because we're just regurgitating everything. Nothing new is happening. Everyone who does the work is coming out of it tired. And it's not helping anyone. So I don't know why we keep doing it if we're not going to actually put some time into thinking about what content suicidal people might need to hear. Like, To Write Love on Her Arms has this Worth Living For campaign going on right now. I don't care what the fuck I have to live for when I'm feeling suicidal. I have 1 million things to live for, and that doesn't matter when I'm feeling that way. And it's trite and it's just trash. And like,
I feel like it comes from this place of like people not understanding what it's like to be suicidal. So they're like, oh, they've forgotten what they wanted to live for. Like, no, fuck, I'm thinking about all of the things that I want to live for when I'm suicidal, but like not in the same way.
Right.
So, yeah.
And yeah, why are people who are not us making these campaigns?
Well,
I mean, that's the question with everything. But yeah, I'm just like, I don't know, it's the same. And I went on a rant and came up with some actually maybe useful action items for things we could possibly do this month.
Yeah. What are they?
Oh God, it was a whole thing. Donate to attempt survivors, donate to causes you believe in that like will go to attempt survivors. If you donate to the big national organizations, you're probably going to be paying the rent in their fancy offices in New York City.
Yeah.
not naming any names. What else? Just the whole, and it's the whole idea that like suicide prevention is not just get help, get therapy, get meds. It's the suicide prevention is actually mutual support, collectivism, healthcare, making sure people are fed, making sure people are housed. Like it's a civil rights issue. It's a political issue. And trying to get people to think about it in that way, that almost any way that you could think of supporting people based on whatever your skill set is, you can essentially be preventing suicide if you're helping boost someone's quality of life.
Right.
To me, that's way more fucking useful than another help and hope and healing bullshit story. Oh, get her chunk.
Yeah, he's got to go down because he's going to be up in my mouth now.
What's his breath smell like?
His breath is actually not bad because he had lots of teeth taken out when we first got him. So otherwise, it probably would have been horrific. I think one of the big things that sort of underpins a ton of Suicide Prevention Month as well is this idea of like messaging safely about suicide, which like we have no idea what that would even mean. Also, like we can't even define like who we're trying to keep safe. Like I think there are great discussions to be had about using language that doesn't feel harmful to people. Let's talk about that instead of saying like safe, because there are a lot of pieces of language that for me are no problem at all. And I know are really, really hurtful or challenging for other people. So I don't use them because I care about not hurting people. But this idea that like there's a thing that we can call safe that people agree upon is sort of some mythology to begin with. And I think really what we actually mean is like message in a way where people won't hear what you're saying and then be compelled to kill themselves, which is bizarre because every training or whatever that you take about suicide, they tell you like you can't say something that's going to make some right. Like you are not the thing that makes someone kill themselves. Now, I think there are some people who have been suicidal who might disagree with that a little bit, but like really, I think from a realistic perspective, people aren't going to just like hear you use like the wrong term or like talk about a method and then be like, oh, I've never heard of that before, or I've never thought of that before. Like we have a whole fucking internet. We can all
fucking internet.
And there, if you want to find out stuff about suicide and like how to kill yourself and all that, it is all out there. So like the idea that like you're going to be just caught off guard by some kind of headline, and that's going to be the thing that like makes you kill yourself, or that's the thing that's the difference between living and dying for you, is just it like speaks to this idea of like fragility that's just not true of people who are suicidal. Like being suicidal and living is a pretty difficult thing to do, I think. And I don't want to say that we're all like strong heroes or something either. I think sort of this idea that like suicidal people are just like everybody else, right? They come in all kinds of forms, and some of us are great people and some of us are like fucking horrible, just like everybody else. So we just need to get out of this space of like trying to make suicide attempt survivors into one thing, especially or suicidal people. And I think especially suicide attempt survivors, because we really, really push survivors into this like good survivor narrative, which I've written about before and talked about extensively on here, so I won't get into the whole thing. But basically there's this idea of like a story that you have to tell about your suicide experience that ends with, you know, you seeing the light and realizing that life is worth living, that it's just like not the case for everyone, or maybe even most people. But that narrative is so strong because of things like Suicide Prevention Month, because it's one of the only spaces where survivors get to tell their stories. But we get directed to tell our stories in such a specific way that then you feel like you're alone and you're the only person who's had that experience, when it's not like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know, there's just, and I mean, I'm a person who, I've worked on these guidelines, and I do think that there is value in the guidelines insofar as, I don't want to hurt other people or like upset other people. But when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about people like us. Like, I know I don't love seeing cutting on TV. Like, I would love to know when I should look away from that shit sometimes. But when you're talking about things like don't talk about the method, it's like, number one, the shit we see on TV. If it's something specific or unique, I guess, maybe don't talk about it. But like, we see so many different ways of dying by suicide on TV. Like, very few of us are going to be surprised. And then on the other side of that is, I've done so much press, and these national outlets specifically, if you don't disclose your method to them and you're trying to follow the guidelines, they'll tell you to fuck right off.
Yeah, they won't tell you at all. Yeah.
Yeah, the New York Times tried to pull my story because I didn't want to tell them how I tried to kill myself. And then, what he ended up printing after I stepped back, because I was like, I think the larger message is more important than my feelings, or maybe the messaging specifically. What he ended up printing was just a lie. So it wasn't, it wasn't the truth. So you have to also think about when we're doing these messaging guidelines, like, reporters have to do their jobs too. And they will tell you, my job is to report. So it's kind of like, you have to think about the people you're working with. You have to know your audience. So it's like, all right, well, if you have to report, how do you report? Blah, blah, blah. And I found that the guidelines didn't work for me in terms of stories for Live Through This either. It comes to a point where you can't take a method out without destroying the integrity of someone's story. If I'm interviewing someone and they attempt and they find God, like, who am I to take that out?
Right.
Like, that's not.
If we feel like our methods are part of our story in a way that matter to us, like, who should be able to tell us that they're not worthy of being told? Like, that, like, I don't understand why someone should get to tell us which parts of our story are valuable and which parts are not valuable.
Yeah.
Like, then don't ask me to talk about it. Like, you don't get to just pick and choose which parts of me you like.
Yeah. Yeah. And, over time, I've pretty much gotten to a point where I publish almost all of them, like, unless there's something really specific, I might kind of edit that down, but I pretty much put it out there. I don't think there's anything wrong with reporting it and moving on. But beyond, like, the messaging guidelines, I care about them, but, like, they're not evidence-based. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Like, for me, it's just a way of trying to keep my people safe as best I can, in hopes that whatever I'm putting out there is not going to harm anyone. But it's just more of the same from this field. Like, we're just at odds with ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
Everything we say has a conflicting message that we then are the ones to deliver. Like, it's not
right.
It's not that there's a conflicting message that someone else is arguing with us about. It's like, no, we're just arguing with ourselves.
And I think like, so much of the good work that exists, because there is good work that exists, all of that just gets totally eclipsed by, like, all of this fuckery. And it's all fuckery just to make things more palatable for people. And, like, I think it's okay for suicide not to be palatable.
I mean, it's not.
It's pretty gross and, like, ugly and difficult, and, like, I don't know. It's not like a place where I look back at that and I'm like, that was great. Share that story. I think, and
I had a good time.
I think the other thing that's interesting about this whole sort of way we talk about it is that, like, it also puts all this pressure on your suicide attempt. Well, there's an assumption that there's only one first, because it's like, tell your story, and it's like, nobody wants to hear, like, your 14 suicide attempts, right? They want to hear about one.
Well, and after the one, you get help and you're cured.
But yeah, I think there's also this idea that like your suicide attempt has to be this sort of big, amazing, like life-changing moment. And I think it can be for people, but I think there's just as many people who sort of attempt suicide and it's like, well, I'm gonna go do this other stuff now, and they don't think about it for a long time afterwards, or maybe don't even think about themselves in terms of being suicide attempt survivors, or like think that moment was like that important to them in the same way. So
I mean, I completely forgot about my first suicide attempt. I only know that it happened because of my journal. Like, I don't.
Well, and then like you also have to get into this space of being like, what counts? Because I was doing all kinds of weird things. I was not always making like conscious choices. So when does it count as suicide, and when does it count as like whatever other dumb shit I was doing? Because like at the time when I was attempting suicide, I was doing that, and like it was some dumb shit I was doing. Not that it is for everyone, just to be clear.
Right. So are you saying your suicide attempts weren't serious then?
Yeah. It depends on, if you ask me then, they sure were. Now I think they're, I don't know. I joke about suicide, so it's hard to say.
Only serious suicide attempts are important.
Yeah. So there's also this sort of, I think, connection between all this of the like domination of the sort of public side of the field by loss survivors. And first, most suicide attempt survivors I know, and most people I know, are loss survivors. So, but there's a sort of specific like person whose identity is connected with being a loss survivor, and like group of people who often are involved in sort of the erasure of a lot of other folks. And I think it's really important for those people to like be able to be involved in movements and like tell their stories and do advocacy and all of that. But oftentimes sort of what happens is there's this like divisiveness between suicide attempt and suicide loss survivors. So it gets set up as like these two things that are at odds with each other, our two goals are at odds with each other. And really, I think we could learn a lot from each other, because I think ultimately there are some similar goals about not wanting to see people in pain, right? But the way that gets played out, or the way that we all go about doing that, might look really different. And a lot of it looks really different because like some of us are sort of like deeply marginalized and oppressed by the system, and then others of us feel shame about what happened, or feel like they can't talk about what happened with their loved one. And that's a really, really fucking different thing than being oppressed. And it doesn't feel good. It's terrible. It feels awful. But it's not the same as being oppressed. And so I think those things get misconstrued.
Yeah. I mean, there's just this like, there's a deep need to, you know, in a way, try and almost undo what's already been done, or save other people from, you know, from losing their own lives, from their families having to do that. And I think often that goal of like, I need to save the whole world gets in the way of, you know, people's liberties. And that's a problem. You know, we are supposed to be working together. And if the goal is saving lives, then we need to talk about what that actually means for people. Right. And we have to be in the driver's seat and talking about what that means for us. Like, where are the lines? What is saving a life? Or what is, like Sam Dillon Finch said, prolonging a life?
Yeah. And I think for me, what's been a really interesting way of sort of capturing what I want to say or think about this is that my focus is not on saving lives. My focus is on liberation. And I think that liberation is a pathway to lives being different for people in ways that might make them not want to die. But I don't really foresee like a world without suicide. Like that's not really my goal. My goal is that we like liberate people from the things that make us want to die as a way to get away from this.
Yeah. I mean, ideally that should be the same thing.
Right. Yes. but oftentimes what people end up doing is backing the things that make some of us want to die as methods of intervention. And like, that's what's really scary, is that within this movement, if you want to call suicide prevention a movement, like within it, there are people who are actively participating in the oppression of other people. That's not good.
With the goal of saving lives.
Right. With the goal, yeah, they think that they're accomplishing the same things.
Right. You know, and I think, I don't know, I kind of at this point pretty strongly believe that the reason the suicide rates have been going up is because we haven't been involved.
Yeah. Yeah, at least not in like meaningful ways where we can actually be in the driver's seat. So I think, yeah, that kind of leads to the next thing we wanted to talk about research, is that like,
oh man,
research is so driven by like loss survivor priorities or like public health, because public health has such a focus on death in the same way, and death prevention is like the measurement tool. What ends up happening is that our research questions are the wrong questions, in my opinion. So like, we're doing all kinds of research, and we might even be doing an okay job at the research that we're doing, but we're looking at the wrong things. It's all driven by the wrong stuff. And if you just like talk to some people and ask some people and involve them in the priorities, then things would look different.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've been reading a bunch of research lately, and it's all, you know, these quantitative measures where it's like, okay, you can standardize and validate and hibbity-doo whatever with your measures, but like that, you're not asking people about how they feel, then you're not capturing anything real.
Or if you're not asking about like what changes that makes people either not kill themselves or whatever, you know, like we're just asking all the wrong things. And even the info that does exist, the information that is produced is like locked up behind every fucking paywall. So like even the stuff that exists that might be good, who knows, because nobody can fucking access it, because it's produced within like the academy, right? And then I don't understand how you do something like suicide research that is supposed to help people and then don't make your work accessible to people. That is like actively working against your goals. Yeah.
I mean, well, we, like I said, we're in conflict. Like, I mean, our big thing is suicide is the 10th leading cause of death.
Yep.
And in the next sentence, we'll tell you it's abnormal. And it's like, okay, wait, so should I care or not? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel right now.
Yeah.
So it's just more of that standing in the way situation, when we should have like research around this should just be more kind of participatory and open and available. And I don't know why that's so hard. To do.
Yeah, it's bad. And then in the meantime, like people who are doing like one of the things that we know people are asking for, which is like calling hotlines and going to crisis services and asking for help, like that is something that is like woefully underfunded. And so whether or not those things are effective, there's certainly things that people are looking for, and there are things that we're driving everyone to. So to like not also fund those things is just a fucking travesty. It's like, suicide prevention.
Oh man, what?
Suicide prevention is bad.
It's bad. Like when they every time the lifeline number gets put on national TV, the calls spike and there aren't enough people to answer the phones.
Yeah.
You know, and how much harm is that doing?
On TikTok who's really cool posts the hotline number. It doesn't even have to be national. Like, there's like other things that cause like epic spikes in volume. So, wow. That was a really good beef corner for about 35 minutes. So
I think it was great. Should I play the other video to close out Beef Corner? I think I should. I'm not going to ask you.
yeah,
Bye.
what you gotta do.
I don't know how you don't love this video. That fake Carol Baskin is just so great.
It's just oof.
It's
I don't know.
Beef Corner, and the head looks like JFK. Like there's just a lot there.
Yeah. So like you say there's a lot and you mean something different than I do when I say there's a lot, which is funny.
It's a lot for me to look at. You look at gross shit all the time. It shocked me that this video bothers you.
I don't know why.
You'll be like, I was just looking at some crime scene photos for like 3 hours. Like, look at this murder. And I'm like, here's a picture of a lady with beef and a tiger. And you're like, oh, I can't handle it.
Yeah, I don't know.
My delicate eyeball.
Yeah, it just gets me. My one delicate eyeball can't handle it. Okay, so let's talk about like some places we want to head in the next year. We have some really cool people lined up. We're booked all the way through January, basically, right?
Yeah.
And we really care about bringing in more voices of people of color who have been really marginalized by our field. I think we're really interested in looking at some of the fields that people don't think of as suicide related, but totally are, like the sort of death industry whole space. Interested in people who do like death dueling, people who do all kinds of stuff related to that industry. I'm interested in.
Can you be a death doula for someone who's gonna kill themselves?
I don't know if you're allowed, but I feel like that's a cool job. Cool, like admirable, not one that I want to do. That sounds like too much.
Definitely no.
But so those are some priorities. I'm really interested in like populations where we know people die by suicide, and or we like hear about that people die by suicide but never get talked about, like sex workers. Oh yeah, I have some Order of the Good Death shirts in my closet. But yeah, so people like sex workers, people whose deaths maybe don't even get counted in that way. I'm interested in the sort of overlap with substance users, people who have experienced houselessness, like just really connecting with populations that I think their voices get unfortunately erased in these discussions.
Yeah. I mean, I originally wanted to go in the direction of creatives, and we've done a little bit of that, but I'm kind of veering more in the social justice direction now.
Yeah, I always been in the social justice.
Things have taken a turn. Yeah, I know where you've been.
Yeah. I think we're also interested in like reaching some different folks. Like right now, I think we have like a pretty consistent like group of people who watch really regularly. It's shocking to me every time I see the numbers. I'm like, wow, I can't believe so many people watch this show. It's awesome. I love it. But I would really like to make this accessible to folks who maybe don't think about suicide in the same ways or as often. So connecting with people to have on the show who help us reach some different audiences sounds really cool to me, as a next step for us as well. And then really specifically getting the right show in front of the right audience at the right time, but I think I don't know how to do that, but that would be cool if we knew how to do that. And
that's like beyond our pay grade, which is zero.
Yeah. So and one of the things we're hoping to do in order to like work toward all of this is to put together a little bit of a fundraiser to help us with some better equipment and be able to do this in ways where we can release on some other platforms like Spotify and iTunes and things like that, and just be like a little more professional than. Although I feel like we've come a very long way since our first, like, we're going to throw this together a few days after we
oh man,
panicked in the middle of the night about it. So
that software was some shit.
Yeah, our first software was the worst.
It
So
was so bad.
things are going better. But yeah, we both sunk some money into this and time, and would really like to figure out what it means to go from where we are to something a little bit bigger. So we think we probably need to do a little bit of fundraising to get there.
So we're gonna ask you for your money.
Yep.
Your
Look forward
money.
to that. We won't ask in Suicide Prevention Month because, everybody is. And we won't do it in December because, again, everybody is. But we'll find a time.
Can I have your turkey money, please?
Yeah.
Turkey money.
Uh-huh.
We had a cool idea about like a marathon of bringing in attempt survivors in for like 2 hours, but I don't remember what inspired that anymore.
Yeah, we were talking about just having like suicide attempt survivors being able to just come on the show and talk about whatever they want to talk about for like a few minutes and just have tons and tons of people be able to come through. But I think we probably need to cook that idea a little bit more before we go with it.
I mean, remember the purpose of it.
Yeah, coordinating
any of that.
But yeah.
Coordinating.
I feel like I'm sort of always like I am on my Instagram or on my Twitter or whatever, and everyone I see that talks about something in an interesting way, I want to have connect with the show in some way. So, I think there's like we've made some interesting merch before, so we're hoping to expand some of those lines, and we'll include that in our fundraiser too.
Look, man,
shirts that are coming out.
Fat and Sad shirts. I don't know if I can pull this up. I keep jumping in on your bullshit. Fat and Sad shirts. I have a beef corner situation in process right now. I've commissioned an artist for like a hot pink steak situation.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. I mean, I don't know who will buy this shit, but
me. So hopefully I don't have to fund my own show, but if I have to, I will the hardest way possible, where I buy products from myself. No, I think we're excited about all the things, and we would like to also hear from you about things that you want to see. So you can put it in the chat, you can email us, you can reach out. We have a website. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and Des is extremely online, and I try to keep up. I try to keep up. I just like it that you're extremely online. I'm jealous.
Extremely online.
Yeah.
I don't have the Fat and Sad with the black background right now, so I don't know if it'll work.
Well, we have some Fat and Sad shirts coming. They're going to be dope.
The Fat and Sad shirts are going to be awesome. What else?
I haven't thought about masks. Oh.
I thought about them, and then I wasn't sure.
I like the idea of masks with the crazy pills and the sad on them. I'm always trying to get Des to add "Don't Die?" to one of the hearts, and she's like, just write it on there. So,
I mean, look, pins are expensive to make. This is the candle lighter that my mom got me.
I'm just saying, for anything, I want it to say "Don't die."
Don't die.
Yeah, don't die unless you really, really want to. Yeah. And unless you've I would like it that people got, opportunities for the things to be different, so they didn't want to die. But anyway, cool. I digress. I think the last thing I wanted to just talk about is that Des and I are working with the American Association of Suicidology to run a writing competition for people with lived experience, and really, really changing sort of the way the judging and scoring and stuff work this year to prioritize different stories and people of color, and you don't have to tell that good survivor story to win. There's a cash prize for 3 places in the competition, which is really unusual for writing contests. We have some really fucking cool judges that we're working through right now, and we'll notify all the judges soon if you're someone that applied for that. But I'm really excited, and I would love for any people who watch us who have a story to share to send their stories in, because as I win all awards that I win 2 years after Dese'Rae does. So
Yes.
So
we're on a cycle,
yeah,
a matched cycle.
but you could be next. So we both won that competition, and it was really pretty cool. They give you a couple of minutes to accept an award, and you can say anything you want on stage, although I'm not sure if it's going to line up that way this time. But I took advantage of that to say some, inflammatory shit, as I usually do.
Like you do. I have that on video. I think you did a great job. From I was like under you, kind of like up your nose.
That's a very awkward angle, but it worked. So, yeah. So like lots of exciting stuff to come, and I appreciate all of you for being around while we did this thing. I can't believe it's been a year.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm typing in the link to the writing competition.
Cool.
Yeah, so actually that just opened up today. It opened up today. The cash prizes are $1,500 for first place, $1,000 for second place, $500 for third place. There used to be an application fee. I believe we got rid of that. We fought over a number of years to get rid of that. And cool judges, big prize.
Yeah.
Write a good ass story, win money.
Yeah.
Profit, I guess.
Yeah, get paid. Pay off some of those hospital bills or whatever.
Oh God. What else?
I think that's it. Like, thanks everybody for being in it with us. This is cool.
I can't believe it's been a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I know we don't say that word.
I do say it.
Crazy.
I love the word crazy.
I say it behind closed doors.
And on suicide stuff.
And suicide stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's all I've got. Do you have anything?
I wish someone would shove a cake in your face.
I'll eat a kite.
Seriously, like something. What the fuck did we get cakes for?
I ate it. I've been eating it the whole time.
Can you show your cake again?
Goddamn. It stresses me out so much because I feel like, see? Eaten. Look at that hole.
I wanted to see it. That is a very nice hole that you have there.
You want to see the suicide and stuff part?
Yes. Very good.
Very good.
I really like the heart candle.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Happy birthday to us and suicide and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.